Rob G, of course, all the great talk now about Indiana is, of course, being that they went undefeated and they won a national championship, is, of course, the hyperbole that they're the greatest team that ever played.
Why are you underselling it, Rob? Why are you underselling it? Rob, the Indiana Hoosiers.
Rob G, I'm just giving it to real.
Became the first team in over 130 years of college football to go 16-0.
With a 27-year-old on the team.
16-0, yes, sir. These Hoosiers have done something that nobody this century or last century had ever done. 16-0, they just completed the perfect season. The average margin of victory, 27.1 points per game. The fourth highest by any undefeated champion this century. So, guys, when you do something like that and you make history that big, is it fair to say that Indiana has a legitimate claim to be the greatest college football team ever?
No. Now, did I give them the credit for being the greatest turnaround in history? Yes. One of the better fun stories in college sports in the last 30, 40 years? Yes.
Dirty.
You know, would you want to – Kurt Cignetti, one of the best coaching jobs? Yes. You can go down the line. But when you're talking about best college teams, I got to hit you with the – Mary, hit me with a hold-up. I got to hit you with a hold-up on that, all right? Because there's multiple reasons why, Rob G, I'm hitting you with a hold-up. Number one, the team was designed, and it's not just their fault and credit them for being the best at it, but they were hitmen for hire. It's just a bunch of guys. Some came from James Madison, a bunch of other guys. You don't know them. There's no storyline. And as far as like all this team, there's no build-up. There's no history with these guys. You don't know them. You literally only know the quarterback, Mendoza, and we didn't even know him prior to this season. There's no star quality to them. Also, they beat a good team in Miami, a heck of a team. But they didn't beat an all-time team. And some of these other teams that I'm going to go down here in a moment, they beat very, very good teams to win because they had beat teams that have been together. They beat teams that have history. And so, to me, that adds to the element. So they're not on this level. And you're talking about just top-end talent? Let me remind you of the 2001 Miami Hurricanes. Don't even forget the 2002 Hurricanes as well. Ken Dorsey was their quarterback, but listen to this running backs. Clinton Portis, Najee Davenport, Willis McGahee,
my goodness,
Frank Gore. That was the backfield. Tight ends, Jeremy Shockey, Kellen Winslow Jr. And then you go to defensive line. The defensive players you had, Jonathan Velma, DJ Williams had, of course we know, Sean Taylor, God bless the dead, Ed Reed, Antrell Rowe, Phillip Buchanan, Mike Rumph, all good to Hall of Fame level defensive backs. So when you're talking about some of the greatest teams, they're not that. They're not also the 2019 LSU team. They're not that as well. So to me, and they're not the Leinart, Bush, Lindell White, and all those guys, USC teams as well. So for me, they're really good. It was a really fun story. Took over college sports, maybe even all the sports for a little bit. But no, they are not on those levels of some of the other teams that I had mentioned. Simple for me. And that's coming from a guy who loved the story. It was great. It was fun. What a turnaround. But no.
I'm with you. I just think that there's too much here. Transfer portal, older players. There's just a lot of stuff that makes you not feel as great about it. They did it. They did it in the current rules and everything that they have, right? But you know this too. There's a huge advantage when you talk about players in that age, the difference between being a 19-year-old and a 27-year-old or a 25-year-old. Would you agree with that? Like that there's one guy is a man. One guy's a man. And the other guy is becoming a man. And I think that you're able to dominate somebody like that. You know, when you play, I can remember playing my nephew, Alvin, in basketball, you know, as he was growing up and trying to beat his uncle. You know, that whole thing. Oh, yeah. You know, in the backyard, and every year or, you know, at a certain time in the summer, I come in over there and then he would try to beat me. And that's when he was 14 and 15. And I was, you know, and then at some point, he wanted to beat me, right? Because he grew up and all that stuff. And the same thing here. These are men against boys. And that's why when you talk about the average age is 23, right? Which is outside of when people graduate at 21 and 22, normally 4 years. You're telling me to have the average be 23, that there are 27 and 28-year-olds, right? To take you to that height. everybody's not, because there are 18 and 19-year-olds in there as well mixed in, and 20.
Right.
So the average to be 23 means you got some people who are 25, 26, 27. I saw a number, and I think they had 47 players who were between 22 and 25. 47. It's a ton of players.
Oh, yeah, he did. Listen, and I told Rob
And that's
G.
why I just have a problem with trying to crown them as the greatest college football team ever.
And that's why, to me, again, they did what they were supposed to do to win in the current system, the way things are structured. But when I think about them as a lead, and you're talking about one of the best teams ever, no. I mean, I still don't even think they're better than that Vince Young Texas team. I mean, so there's just been some really, really good teams that I can't just vault them over. I mentioned that LSU team with Joe Burrow in 2019. That was incredible. I mean, my gosh, is every single receiver on there incredible receiver now in the pros? I mean, so you just look at some of these teams and the talent-wise. I think he got the perfect guys who bought into a system, who were like soldiers on the field, who played his way. They all older, so they knew their role. They were great. They had a big point differential. They beat everybody up, but they're not one of the great teams of all time, if you're asking me. Again, I mentioned that Texas team with Vince Young, those USC teams that were here with Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush, and Pete Carroll. You talk about, again, you might even say a couple of those Alabama teams with Nick Saban, when they had incredible guys on the defensive side of the ball, running backs, couple of receivers, Julio Jones and such. I mean, there were some teams with much more top-end talent. Rob G, I think you disagree with us.
You guys could not be more wrong.
Come on, man.
It's ridiculous.
What?
And unlike
you better
y'all,
get to explain. You got some
I'm
splaining
about to
do.
bring facts to a feelings fight. And so it's going to crush everything that you guys have been saying for the last 8 minutes.
That 01 and 02 hurricane, you're going to have a lot of work to beat
Go
that.
ahead.
Look,
I want to hear
Here's
this.
the thing. Full disclosure. They do not have the top-end talent the Hurricanes did, LSU with Burrow and Chase and Jefferson, even like 04 USC.
Yeah.
They are not going to have that NFL talent. But let me quick tangent, like apples to oranges kind of, but follow me for a second. When we talk about the greatest teams in NBA history, talking basketball, you'll say, hey, Showtime Lakers, Bird Celtics, the Jordan Bulls, Shaq and Kobe, KD, Steph, Warrior. Like you have these groups that everyone says these are the greatest teams of all time. If I were to go man for man down the roster and say, compare the rosters of Shaq and Kobe's Lakers versus the Showtime Lakers, everybody would agree, top to bottom, Showtime's roster is light years better than what Shaq and Kobe were doing. However, if I were to say in a 7-game series, who's winning that series, even the people who are saying Showtime would say, you know what? Shaq and Kobe's team would give them problems because of Shaq would do this and Kobe would do that.
I don't know.
Blah, 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 blah.
Because
Right?
they did lose to the Pistons.
The three-peat team, I mean, the Showtime lost a couple times too, so it's not like it's
I'm just
of.
saying.
What I'm saying is when you're comparing great teams, it's not always just about how loaded your roster is. It's that team at that point in time for that season was awesome. Like there's one particular team from the Bird Celtics years, I think it was
86.
86. That one team is better than all the other teams.
Some
they had in
people say that
run.
might be the best team ever.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's how you differentiate the greatest roster versus the greatest team. And when you're talking about Indiana, not only do they go 16-0, something no one has done over 100 years, right? What they have going for them is that they went undefeated during a time where they didn't just play a bunch of tomato cans and light up a bunch of Virginia Tech South like Miami did in 01. They played the 15th toughest schedule this season in the country. 9 of their opponents won at least 9 games. Miami was the Hoosiers' 6th team they faced this year, ranked in the top 10 at the time of kickoff. Of those 6 games, only 2 of them were single digits. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
They blew the doors off Oregon twice, which is finishing in the top 3. Alabama, Illinois, by a combined score of 187 and 45. So even though they don't got Ed Reed and 14 all-pro running backs like Miami did, even though they don't got the all-world backfield like USC, they don't got Vince Young, they don't got Chase, Jefferson, and Burrow, when they were on the field, nobody could touch them. There's a reason why they got the highest point differential in college football history this side of 1 year of Clemson.
You know, but everything you said was cute. Everything you just said was cute. But hold on.
At what point do you just say, hey, on the field,
because
when this
the
team
quality
plays this team,
of the team,
they are the best team.
Because the quality of the teams that they're beating is not the same. Texas had to go through that USC team we're talking about. And go undefeated. That is a credit. Or they lose one. But
They went
that's
undefeated.
they're undefeated. That's my point. To go undefeated, that's already tough enough in that era of college football. And to then beat that USC team that oh my gosh, this is one of the most amazing teams ever, that's a feat. And what I'm saying is, because of transfer portals and all of this in college, you're not playing the best guys. You're getting a bunch of guys who are swooping around. You're not getting teams that have unity over 2, 3, 4 years, who are all in, who know what they do. You're putting guys together, mismatch, and the quality of the football has gone down, if you ask me. Because, again, it's just a bunch of teams put this guy's patchwork. You're not going through teams who have been built through it, have gone through it for 2 to 4 years, and now you're facing them. So, yes, they ran through a bunch of people who are similar to them. Carson Beck, and you got players who are trying to get a 6th and 7th year, so they go to another school and play.
They're
other
beating
places.
grown men with other grown men, but they're still beating.
And you know
them.
who they're beating? They're beating grown men who should or might not even be in the NFL. Look at that Miami team. Half the daggone team was in the NFL.
Right.
They were beating. That's an incredible team.
If we're basing it just on NFL, rosters,
but those
then
guys,
Alabama would have one of the greatest teams ever, and no one says that any of those Nick Saban teams is one of the greatest.
I
teams
just
of all time.
said you could be. You were
Nobody
walking
is
around.
saying.
You were
Then why
walking
do they
around.
lose? How do they lose games if they're the greatest team of
Because
all
they
time?
were playing other great competition. That's my point.
A 9-6 championship game against LSU. was
Indiana
great
ain't playing
competition.
the best competition. College basketball, you got some of these teams with all we talked about this last season. I brought it up. You got some of the better teams with all these 24, 25.
Right.
That don't mean they're a good team. So the conversation was one of the great teams. We're not saying they didn't have a great season, and they're not one of the really good teams of all time.
You're Kelvin, spot on. No one's saying that. We just don't believe they're the greatest college football team that ever
Heck
played.
no.
877-99 on Fox.
You did a good job, though. Robert Cochran. You were Robert Cochran. You was fighting for your life, but you
sure
did a good
were.
job. You almost got off.
The Hoosiers are the greatest team in college football history. I say yes. The odd couple says no. I'm right there wrong. Where you?
All right, Rob, so they're watching us right now, which means another thing they can do is what?
They can subscribe. All you got to do is hit that button, subscribe to The Odd Couple for some of the best sports talk content in the nation.
Facts, and while you're at it, they can like, they can comment, they can share. Do all that for us. We appreciate it. Just do all that right up in here.